Hello, beautiful people. My name's Kristen. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today I have a book tag, which I have been very slack in doing book tags. I did them when I first started the channel. I started about 6 months ago, about 6.5 months ago, and I did a few then, and then I just kind of lost track, and I apologize so much, especially if you have tagged me, but I am here to try to catch up this month. So I am doing the name book tag today. I was tagged by Nikki over at Red Dot Reads. I will link her channel as well as the link to the original below. And this is a tag where you simply take your name, break down the first letters, and then recommend a book that also begins with that letter. And I know that I also was tagged by my good friend Michelle at Books Cause Insomnia to do the Margaret Atwood tag. So that will be coming next week. If you've tagged me in something else, I'm almost positive there was at least one more and I can't find it. So I just apologize for being slack, and re-tag me or let me know. Or if you didn't even tag me but you are a viewer and want to see me do a particular tag, drop it below. I'm going to just pick some and start doing some more because I'm interested now in picking that back up. So without further ado, my name is Kristen, 7 letters. So the first book, this may be a little cheat because kill is the second word, not the first. But To Kill a Mockingbird, I did want to talk about this book. This book I first read in 5th grade in an advanced English class, and I remember it was kind of my first wrestling with some of the justice issues, some of the race issues, trying to start to make peace with some of those things or play those out in my mind. And then I reread it just this past year and just enjoyed it equally well. I was kind of expecting, because when you read things in school, it's kind of required reading, but I loved it so much more than I know I loved it when I had to read it in school. So that was a very pleasant surprise. I have not read her new release that came out, I guess now a couple years ago, but I haven't read that. So if you have, let me know. But this is a story of a lawyer, Atticus, who takes on a case and kind of is protecting a persecuted Black man who just needs some extra love and help and care, and it's particularly dealing as his 2 kids, their perspective in this whole thing, which is really awesome as it helps any of us try to deal with those kind of situations. And I don't want to embarrass my own offspring, but because they kind of knew the premise of this when they started reading it, one of my children thought that Atticus, Scout, and Jim were the Black family, and that the other neighborhood people were the white people. And so it made a lot more sense when he figured out to reverse that. So that's K. R, I have to go with a Brandon Sanderson, y'all. Oh, look at this cool bookmark. My mother-in-law gave me that. I'm going to set that aside because I want to use it. So Rhythm of War for R. This was the last Brandon Sanderson book I read. It's the 4th in the Stormlight trilogy, and I have talked extensively about it. I have a review I can link below. But basically, if you like extensive creative world building with other dimensions, other kind of traveling through different planes, different entire races, different species, and dealing with some of the same kind of themes that we deal with in our world, being war and power and land and love and all those kind of dynamics. This is a fantastic masterpiece, and I can hardly wait in the next couple of years before the 5th one comes out. So that's going to be my R. Now my I went immediately to this one. I knew exactly which one I was going to pick up for my I, Illuminae. And this is kind of, you can find it usually in the young adult section, and it's written kind of, it's not really a graphic novel, but it has graphics, and it's written in like computer code. You like one of the main characters is actually the spaceship computer. So they're out in space. It is predominantly teenagers in the story, but of course there's adults who are running it. It's just the main characters are telling it from the teens. There has been, this is like in the future, so we're like colonizing other planets. So there's another planet where we're doing some mining and some resource gathering, and it gets attacked by somebody who's trying to basically steal the land or get the resources. And so it becomes like a space the refugees running away and trying to escape with their lives versus the help coming versus the people trying to cover this up, all that kind of good stuff. There's the AI systems that are, the computers that are talking to us. You have some different alien species. You have some time parallel wormholes, that kind of thing that go on. But I love this series. So, and if you have a young reader that's maybe, doesn't like to read, this might be a good way to kind of sneak them into it. My S is going to be into my love of classics with Sense and Sensibility. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Jane Austen, right? This was actually the very first kind of Victorian style classic that I read. And I'm not sure it's where I would recommend people to start. I like it very much, but I think it falls a little, in my mind, cliche, just centered so much on the marriages and marrying property. And that's kind of what it's all about. Are you going to be sensible in your choices? Are you going to marry for your lands and your prestige? Or is it going to be sold out for love, or is there some kind of middle road or middle ground, and lots of that kind of dynamics going on in that, which is so common theme in Victorian literature. So if you're I usually like the ones that have a little bit more besides just the romance. My T is going to be 2 and 2, and what's the Rafe Bartholomew? I forgot his first name because I knew it was unique. This is a nonfiction, so this goes to my nod of nonfiction, and it is the history memoir of the bar that is in New York, McSorley's. It's an Irish pub bar, and the only time it had closed down at all was during the war. It did not close down during Prohibition, but it probably had to close because of COVID, but it didn't go up to that point. It went up through though 9/11, so it was in New York during that time. It talks about what it's like on St. Patrick's Day, what it's like on Super Bowl Sunday, just the different famous people who had come into the bar, and the way it was told with the family dynamics. Like, he starts out with his father who first worked at the bar, and then he later grows up and works in this bar, and talks about the legacy of his family. His grandfather, his mother's story is in there, and just a beautiful memoir of just a history of just a love and passion for your home and the culture there, and just loved it so much. So I actually had originally got it at the Dollar Tree. I gave that copy away. I bought like 5 or 6 other copies, and then this was at a library sale, so I said I'm going to keep this one for myself, and any other time I just gift the other ones. But it was, I think, my top book a couple years ago when I was actually still on my other YouTube channel. So that's my T. The second I is the Iliad. So this is another classic, obviously, in my beautiful copy of the cloth-bound Penguin classics. And my oldest son gave me this particular copy for Christmas. And here's my recommendation or endorsement, if you will, of this book. If you watch me a lot, I tend to read a lot of books about war, but I struggle with it. My heart goes out to the families, to, the parents, to the situations of people in all these horrible situations because of war. And this book is super, I was surprised how graphic and gory this classic is. And so there is that element. So if you're sensitive to that, that's one disclaimer. But the fact that I am that way, and there was a lot of that, and I still so appreciate the history and backstory and how this is kind of the roots of so many other stories and classic journeys and tales of war and those kind of epic journeys, if you will. It's just not surprising to me that this holds up over time and became a classic. Just talking also not only about the what was going on Earth, but about history and spirituality of the gods and how they're involved in all of that. So I do think it's worth reading. I think it does read the classic style. So if you struggle with that style of writing, that might be difficult. And there's several books that are kind of out that are good about the Iliad. So that could also be another way to go. But if you are into those kind of epic mythology, war stories, it's great to read the roots and the backstory. So this is it. So Iliad by Homer, that's my I. And then my N, to finish it off, I have to go with 1984, back to the classics, George Orwell. I don't know how many times in the past couple of years I'd been like, does nobody read anymore? 1984. 1984, Big Brother watching you. Google is on you. Siri is listening. You have a conversation about, you need to get a rake because your rake's broken down, and you open up your social media and there's an ad for a rake. I mean, it's kind of creepy, y'all. I'm just saying. No government control, no conspiracies, nothing listening to us. This man wrote about it in, I think, the 30s. And in 1984 was like way futuristic for him at that point, right? So that is kind of an overview. I tried to pick some classics, some of my sci-fi more modern reading, and then a couple of just older books that had influenced me. And finally, I need to tag people for this video. So I tried to go back and check to make sure a couple of people that I follow and would love to recommend to you haven't done it, and I do not think they have. First, I want to tag Emma at Always in Stock. She has a beautiful, lovely channel, does some classics and also some contemporary reads, some romances that I don't read, but whatever it is she reads, I really appreciate her perspective, and it really gives me a feel if I would be interested in reading that book or not. So consider yourself tagged. And I also want to tag a younger, new booktuber that I have just been adoring and following along, but I'm not positive your name. I went back and rewatched the newbie tag and I didn't catch it, but it's called The Barefoot Witch. I will link her channel below. She does really cute intros and talks a lot about her reading the books that influence her, and she particularly loves the kind of Harry Potter and witch themes books. So if you have any time, go check her out, give her some love, and consider yourself tagged, and that way I can find out what your name is and you can do a whole recommendation on it. Y'all have a super awesome day. Happy reading. I will see you again soon. Happy book tags.